All right, thank you, everyone. Today, we are going to be listening to or learning about basically the architecture of the internet. Seems complicated, but we're going to learn the basics to kind of help us understand the privacy of it and how we need to protect ourselves. So there was a Pew Research Center, you've heard of them, they do all sorts of studies, but they did a study, and basically 8 in 10 people go online at least daily. So when we say online, when we say we're going on the internet, basically we're going to open up a browser, probably Google, and we're going to search for something. That's what going on the internet means to us. That kind of opens up, all of your search results. And a lot of things happen behind the scenes once you do that search. So let's go ahead. So what we do when we log on is we make decisions and choices when we go online on which websites to visit, which websites to use, what services we want to download, what webinars we want to watch, anything like that. With that, we get a lot of results. We get the information we want to get. All of that information is great for us, but it kind of opens up a whole can of worms for everyone else. So the architecture of the internet behind the scenes is that, it's an invisible system. We can't see it, but it's going to tailor, it's going to personalize all of the online content you see based on where on the internet you've been before, what sites and platforms you think you might like. All of those things are happening behind the scenes for you to have the best online experience you can have. All right. So some of the things that will impact your online experience we'll talk about those, but the digital age today is basically, there's so much information out there, it's overwhelming. New technologies are out there to create, they're widely shared to help you share information and learn new information. There's always going to be that conflict between speed and accuracy. I get an alert on my phone, XYZ happened, like a big car accident or a train derailed or something. And I get the news and I immediately want to go to a source I trust. So maybe I see first on maybe SFGate, which I check frequently for local news. And then if it's a national event, I'll go on NPR, and nothing's there yet because NPR is a little more trusted. They take the time to research the facts before they release everything to the public. So it can take them half a day before they start getting information that they feel is accurate enough for the public to see the story produced by them. Whereas I want to get it right away. And a lot of people want to get the news right away. So they'll check any source that gives them immediate information. And that can lead to the information not being accurate. So you just have to be able to take the time to either believe exactly what you see once, or maybe you try and find different sources for stories or news sources. And part of that as well is there's a lot of, the confirmation bias. So that's the tendency for websites or services to prioritize the information that aligns with what you believe and what your viewpoints are. So what I believe my viewpoint are on a number of different things could be totally different from yours. So my online experience, if I search for something and you search for the same exact thing, we're going to see completely different results based on my online and internet history and experience and yours. All right, so how does that happen? First off, we have cookies. I love that they named them cookies, but they're kind of, it's a little more than just your basic little cookie. So what is a cookie? So we've heard it. It's a piece of data that's stored on your computer by a website, and it will enable the site to remember useful information like your previous browsing history, sign-in information. If you have a shopping cart, like if you're buying stuff at Old Navy and you're not logged in if you don't have an account with them, you're putting stuff in a shopping cart, if you close out of the website and you go in a day or two later, your shopping cart still got the items in that you want to purchase. So that's because Old Navy has attached a cookie to your browser. So it knows that you're going to come back. It's going to save that information. And probably because of that cookie, you're going to see ads for Old Navy on a news site you go to, or you'll see ads on maybe even Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. So it's tailoring your online experience to make it what they think is more convenient. Some of us might find it very annoying, but it does happen. And that is kind of what cookies are, how they're placed. And you can have cookies removed from your site. I'll show you what that looks like, or at least from your browser history. I'll show you how to do that on Google Chrome. Where you can access what cookies are available, and they're going to look weird. You're going to be like, that's not a website I visited, but that's because it's, a piece of information that's from a website that's kind of tracking everything, because the website has sold the information elsewhere. And that other company, that third party, is the one that might be tracking you. Okay. Logarithms. So this is basically, so it's a set of instructions to be followed. So usually it's applied in computer code, and it's going to carry out a task. So you'll see that with like YouTube or an ad on Facebook or on Amazon. So what they're doing, if you type in on YouTube that you want to see a video about a new movie that's coming out, well, your history or your watch next is then going to be possibly videos relating to that movie, like about the director or media interviews, or maybe it's going to be other movies that are coming out soon. So there's an algorithm that's figuring out what they think you want to see next. This can also happen with streaming stuff too. So there was a big old article, and I still haven't figured it out, how to like basically reset or eliminate the logarithm for like Netflix streaming. So once you start watching a few things, Netflix is kind of calculating on the back end what they think you want to see. But there is tons of movies and TV on Netflix that you may never know exist as on Netflix because they don't think it's something you want to watch. And so there was something I read a while ago. I couldn't find the article, but it basically told you how to break that. So then you can go in and kind of see a little bit of everything without having to specifically search for something. So logarithms appear in that matter, like in your streaming stuff, on Facebook, when you're starting to see ads for things that you've searched for elsewhere or things they think you might like. When you're on Amazon, you buy a stapler one day, and the next day you have suggested purchases for all sorts of office supplies. So those are all examples of the types of logarithms that are going on behind the scenes, like the computer code that's being set up for you. All right, and then we have filter bubbles. So filter bubbles, so basically it's intellectual isolation. I know that sounds technical, but it's all sorts of content, media that results from information that's served primarily through search engines. And they filter out the results that best meet what you're interested in. So depending on, and let me try to use an example that's not so controversial, but let's say I'm looking for a new car and I want to look for, it's some sort of Honda car. It's going to start eventually, anytime I search for Honda, it's going to start filtering out maybe bad articles about Honda. So all I see is the good stuff. I'm not going to see anything that's been negative about Honda. I might stop seeing examples, or I might not stop seeing search results for other car companies, because now they see that I only want to search for a Honda car. So they're only going to give me good things to help me purchase a Honda car. That's kind of an example of a filter bubble. And we see this a lot going on right now with people that do or do not believe in certain things like vaccines, or during political, like with the last election. So many people regardless of what side you're on or in the middle, got stuck seeing just content for a certain side. That's kind of the filter bubble gets you in trouble. And then you kind of get, in that case, the confirmation bias. So that's where information is prioritized and confirms and aligns with your viewpoints, and it doesn't let you see the other side. So that can be a little dangerous. You just kind of need to be aware, try and not get your news from one source, try and search around, go to actual news sites and not just articles you see posted on, say, Facebook or another type website like that. Okay, so all of those things are there to make your online experience convenient. So then the question is, how important is convenience to you? For me, I love the convenience of being able to go online, go to Amazon and see things that I might like to purchase, because most likely if I purchased a stapler, I'm probably going to come back and maybe purchase more office supplies. And let me go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about with Amazon. I'm going to use that as the example for logarithms today. Let's see here. Let me do this. Okay, so this is my Amazon page. We all have our own Amazon page. When you log into Amazon, it's the first thing you see. So these are things this is the last thing I ordered. I ordered a coloring book for my son yesterday based on one of his favorite shows right now. All right, so then it's going to show me a few other things I may have searched for. I've also been searching for a lot of baby stuff because my friend is having a baby and I've been helping her research things that she should purchase. So it's going to show me, oh, look, all of these things, you've been looking for it, you might want to see these. And so it'll kind of go through. Previously, I was also looking for, tracking, like exercise tracking devices for a gift for my husband. Oh, look what showed up in my things I might like, along with speakers as well. So anytime I search for something on Amazon, it's going to like calculate on the back end, make your calculating sounds as you wish. And it's going to say, we think you might like these. We got the same thing down here, inspired by your purchases. I'm always buying my printer ink off Amazon just because I'm lazy and I don't want to go to Staples. But it always ends up showing up here. Also, recently, I purchased some cork sealer for my Birkenstocks. So now it's showing me this entire collection to help maintain my Birkenstocks. So it's bizarre. All of these things are happening behind the scenes for things that you have purchased in the past or things we think you might like based on prior purchases. So those are all examples of logarithms. In addition, Amazon is going to attach cookies to your computer. So that means that I went ahead and I searched for something on here. I'm going to see an ad, maybe on SFGate. That's going to be an ad for printer ink, whether it's printer ink to purchase through Amazon or printer ink to purchase from a separate site, but it'll be an advertisement for printer ink. So then you have your cookie. That's how your cookie's created. And then from that, maybe I'm only going to ever see printer ink for HP printers, and I'm never going to see any advertisements for other printers. So now I'm kind of stuck just looking at HP printers unless I take the time to search for another brand. All right, let's see here. So California has some pretty strict data privacy laws when it comes to privacy of information on the internet. And there's a website, it's on the handout that I'm going to give you. It's called thecookielaw.org. And it talks about a couple different privacy acts that have been created. And this one specifically is for the California Consumer Privacy Act. And many times a lot of people, most of us know about this. We just don't know really the details. We just assume that it applies to every website. But it is possible. And I was looking at this in the California Consumer Privacy Act. The requirements only apply to companies that make more than 25 million, their gross revenue. They buy, receive, or share personal information of 50,000 or more consumers, and at least 50% of their annual revenue is from selling California consumers' personal information. So those are all things that need to be complied with by companies, as long as they meet that revenue requirement. All right, so here's an actual great example of how the privacy law works. And you see this kind of every time you open a new website, every time you do a browser update. But you see down here at the bottom of the screen, it says this website uses cookies to enhance your user experience and to analyze performance and traffic on our website. We also share information about your use of our site with our social media, advertising, and analytics partners. So we don't know who those partners are. We don't know who they're working with for advertising. But at least within California, we get these types of things, so we're more aware. So let's click on cookie notice. Let's see what it says. Okay, so this is its cookie notice. So they use cookies and other tracking technologies to assist us in navigation, so make our experience better. Assisting with registration for events, logins, ability to provide feedback, analyzing use of our products, services, or applications, assisting with promotional and marketing efforts. And then below is a detailed list of cookies we use on our website. And their website is scanned with a cookie scanning tool regularly to maintain a list as accurate as possible. So cookies that are necessary, strictly necessary, performance cookies, functional cookies, and targeting cookies. So let me go back a screen. And I'm going to still see this until I start to accept everything. So I can accept cookies. I can accept it all. I can say, do not sell my personal information. And then it gives you an option. You can, strictly necessary cookies are always going to be active. And this could mean that it's required to make the website just functional. I know with my work computer, which is more secure probably than my home computer, I can't even get to some websites unless I enable cookies because the website won't even work. And so you may get that occasionally. And then you can, there's an option here for the sale of personal data. So they'll give you a detailed definition, all these cookies, and then you can decide, do you want your data sold or do you not? So if I'm going to do that, I'm going to confirm my choices, and there we go. So if they continue to, if they do sell your data, they're breaking the law and there is a fine. How to find out if it was them that did it, I can't explain that, but let me see one question here. So someone said in the question that they went to their computer and then in their settings, they said they chose the most private one. So it probably was, don't enable any cookies at all times. Are there still cookies in all of this? What we can do, I will show you what that looks like. Probably, I believe, no. That's how it works with your browser, if you've set up your browser that way. But you're going to probably get to websites where you can't even use the website unless you enable cookies. At that point, you'll get that alert where you can decide what types of cookies for that website are enabled. In most browsers, like Google Chrome, you'll be able to pick websites where cookies are allowed. Like you can go in very detail, depending on the convenience you want. And cookies are convenient because they can help you save your login information. They can make it so if you logged in a couple hours ago, if you go back, it'll still have you logged in without logging you out. So, I mean, they are convenient, but they can also, your data can be purchased and sold. So if you set it up on the most private one, yes, you're secure. However, you're going to come across websites where you're not even going to be able to use the website because they have to install a cookie of some sort to allow you to see everything on the website. And you just can choose not to do that. I heard Firefox browser is more secure than Google. Is that true? I will say that the Google Chrome browser has so much stuff going on in the background that it takes a lot of active memory to run it. Firefox could be the better browser. Ultimately, DuckDuckGo is a better browser, and I'll show you where to find out, what browser's right for you. I have a website you can go to for that. But yeah, I hear some people say Firefox is better. I don't personally like it because of the user experience. I use Safari at home because I have an Apple, but Google Chrome is definitely easier for me to use than Firefox or Microsoft Edge at work. All right. Okay, so we talked about cookies, logarithms. Now, when it comes to filter bubbles, I've included a couple different links on the handout that I'll give you that talk about filter bubbles, including a link to some articles that have been written up about it. But basically, the best way to see an example of how a filter bubble is working, and you can't be on the same internet to do this or Wi-Fi. So you have to use different search engines. So you could do it on your phone, maybe if you're using a data plan, and then your computer on the Wi-Fi. If you search for the same thing, say using Google and another browser, you would see probably entirely different search results. So that's an example of a filter bubble being used, depending on if you've never used that browser before or searched for that thing before, or if you have, you may see completely different results or similar results. There's a question that says, with cookies, is it true? Let us say I look for airfare one day, then did not purchase. If I go in another day later to look for airfare again, I would not get any airfare lower than my first search. That is true. I only say it's true because that has happened to me a lot. You have to clear out your cookies when you're visiting a website, especially for airfare. You just have to clear them out because it's just going to keep remembering that flight you want to do. And it's not going to give you any price changes. It's kind of like a moment in time that it's keeping you in on that website. So yeah, if you're searching for airfare, just always clear out your cookies or clear your browsing data. Makes it a little more inconvenient because you have to go in and redo the search and all of that. But you'll see, say if you're like on Hawaiian looking for a flight to Hawaii, you'll do a search and you come in the next day and, oh, look, it already knows where I'm coming from and where I want to go to and the dates. How did it already know that? Well, it stored a cookie, and it's also keeping or saving the prices that you looked at before. If those prices dropped, you're not going to see them. It's possible you could continue just to see them go up and never go down. So I would say, yes, that's true. And it's probably the same with a lot of different sales on ticket sales for websites. All right, on the handout, I'm going to show you there's a website called Your Ad Choices. So if you go to that website, it basically like runs a test on your computer or your phone to learn which marketing companies are tracking your online behavior. So then you can then go in and go into your browser settings and decide what cookies you want to delete, whether you want to delete all of them or none of them. I have another question. So if I delete cookies, then I would not have this issue. And this cookie is only for the web browser, would not store in another browser. It's based on your browser, yes. So you would want to go in and clear it out of the browser you're using. If you use multiple browsers, you'll want to, and you're searching on all of them for the same thing, and just clear out the cookies. Yeah, it's only for that web browser you're using. All right, let's see. So there is a website that's called the Electronic Frontier Foundation. And that will go into detail about how to protect yourself online and give you recommendations for, third-party kind of plugins you can use in your browser that will tell you who's tracking you and what they're tracking. Different search, a different search browser like DuckDuckGo, which doesn't track anything. So there's a couple different options, and I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so let me go to the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Give me 1 second. I'll just try searching it here. Okay, definitely check out this website. Again, I have, it'll be linked on the handout, but they are here to protect your digital privacy. So you can read about what they do, but under tools, so you'll see like Privacy Badger. So you install it and onto your browser, and basically it stops advertisers and trackers from secretly tracking where you go and what pages you look at on the web. So check out Privacy Badger. And there's also, let's see, it does, I think. Not sure if it talks about DuckDuckGo on here. Well, one of these websites, if you go to it, it does talk about DuckDuckGo. Are there any fees for Privacy Badger? I don't believe so. Let's see, I'm going to click here. No, Privacy Badger's free. I've installed it before. Yeah, it is free. It's a nonprofit that operates it. That's going to basically help with digital privacy. All right, and then we have so DuckDuckGo. It's just another browser setting. You can search the web without being tracked. You can get a private. It's kind of like plugins for your existing browser. So you would add it to Chrome, or you would add it to another browser you might be using. So that's something to look into also. Let's see here.